Things they don't tell you about living alone as an older person. Not alone, but lonely. A conversation. No one starts. It starts with something simple, a cup of coffee that goes cold because there's no one across the table, a quiet room that once echoed with voices but now only hums with the low sound of a refrigerator, a door that no longer opens at 6 p.m. sharp. These are the things no one prepares you for. People talk about the freedom of living alone, the independence, the peace. But they leave out the rest. The weight of silence, the echo of routines that used to belong to 2 people, or maybe 5. The moments when the house feels too big, even though nothing's changed except the absence of someone's shoes by the door. Living alone as an older adult is often portrayed as either a tragedy or a triumph. It's neither, really. It's a bit of both, depending on the day. Some mornings you wake up and feel strong, grounded, capable of doing things your way. Other mornings you sit on the edge of the bed and feel like the whole world has moved on without you. The truth is, living alone isn't just about logistics. It's about emotional architecture. It's about building something stable on ground that's constantly shifting, because the older we get, the more change we're forced to absorb. We lose people. We lose pieces of ourselves. And in the quiet that follows, we learn to rebuild. This isn't a sad story. It's an honest one. It's about strength. Not the kind that gets celebrated in parades or medals, but the quiet kind. The kind that wakes up each morning and keeps going even when no one is watching. The kind that eats alone, drives to appointments alone, laughs at old sitcoms alone, and still finds joy in little things like sunlight through the curtains or the smell of a good meal. No one really tells you what it's like to live alone in your 70s or 80s. They don't talk about how different the world feels when you stop being surrounded. But today, we will. Not just to tell the truth, but to give it dignity. Because behind every solo cup of tea, every quiet evening, and every whispered memory, there is still life. Messy, beautiful, complicated life. And that matters. You matter. Even if no one says it, even if no one knocks on your door today, I'm here. And we're going to talk about it. All of it. There's a kind of silence that feels like peace. A gentle hush after the rain. The stillness of a soft morning. But then there's another kind. The kind of silence that grows heavier the longer you sit in it. That's the one no one really warns you about. When you live alone, silence isn't just the absence of noise. It's the presence of everything that used to fill the air. Maybe you used to hear your spouse humming in the kitchen, or the back and forth chatter of your kids as they fought over the TV remote. Maybe you were used to the sounds of footsteps upstairs, the door opening and closing at odd hours, the creak of the floor as someone moved through the hallway in the middle of the night. Now you hear the ticking of a wall clock, the wind tapping against the window, the hollow sound of your own breath when you sigh. It's strange how memory works. When there's no one around, the past starts showing up more often. In flashes, in whispers, a laugh that echoes in your head, a phrase someone used to say, a song that plays on the radio and suddenly you're 25 again, dancing barefoot in the kitchen. The silence stirs it all up. Not to hurt you, but to remind you of the life you've lived, the love you've known, the things that mattered. But sometimes it hurts anyway, and yet, that same silence can hold you too. Once the ache softens, you realize you're not haunted. You're remembering. You're honoring what was. And in a world that moves fast, where people are too busy to pause, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Maybe living alone gives you a sacred kind of space, one where the memories still have room to breathe, where no one interrupts the story you're still carrying. So when you wake up in that quiet house and feel that wave of silence roll in, just know, it's not emptiness. It's your life speaking back to you, loud and clear. People love to celebrate independence. They say things like, look at you, still driving, still doing everything on your own. Isn't that amazing? And yes, it is. It really is. But what they don't see, what they can't see, is the other side of that coin. Because when you're older and living alone, independence isn't just a gift. It's also a responsibility. One that doesn't take days off. There's no one to pick up the slack when you're tired. No one to grab your prescription if you're not feeling well. No one to remind you to eat when the day slips by and your appetite slips with it. You become the planner, the doer, the worrier, the fixer, all rolled into one. You balance your budget. You schedule your appointments. You change your own light bulbs, or sit in the dark for a week until someone visits and offers to help. You learn to double-check the locks at night, to scan the sidewalk for cracks before you step out, to pretend you're fine even when something doesn't feel quite right, because asking for help starts to feel like an admission that you're not doing well on your own. And nobody wants to be seen as a burden, but let me say this clearly. Needing help doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. Independence should never be about isolation. It should be about choice. And choosing to lean on someone, now and then, that's a strength too. Still, there's something powerful about holding your life together with your own two hands, about waking up, making your bed, and deciding that today, no matter what, belongs to you. Even if it takes effort, even if it feels heavy. Because the truth is, most people don't know what it really takes to do what you do. They don't see the courage in the small things, making a grocery list, driving yourself to the doctor, handling a plumbing issue when no one else is there to call. They don't understand the quiet victories that come with living solo after 65. But I do. And I want you to know, just because no one sees the weight you carry, doesn't mean it's not worth admiring. You've earned every inch of that independence. You live it, you carry it. And yes, sometimes it's heavy. But you keep showing up anyway. That's something no one can take from you. It might start as a whisper, a muttered thought while looking for your glasses, a small chuckle when a memory comes back, or a, well, that's just great, when you spill something on the floor. And then one day, you realize you've been talking to yourself out loud for years, and honestly, it's not weird. It's human. People don't talk enough about this. When you live alone, your voice becomes your companion. You fill the quiet, not just because you need noise, but because thoughts are different when they're said aloud. They take shape. They carry weight. They feel heard, even if it's just by you. Sometimes it's practical, reminding yourself where you put the keys or talking through a recipe step by step. Other times it's more emotional. You find yourself talking to someone who isn't there anymore, a spouse, a parent, a friend long gone. You speak into the stillness because the heart has no off switch, and the love doesn't go away just because the body isn't sitting across from you. And sometimes talking to yourself is the best way to stay grounded. It keeps the brain active. It gives your thoughts somewhere to go. It can even be comforting, like a soft rhythm that reassures you. You're still here. You're still trying. You're still connected. So let's stop pretending it's strange. If you talk to yourself while folding laundry, watering your plants, or watching the news, good. That's not a sign of loneliness, that's a sign of life. That's a mind still processing, still engaging, still present. The world gets noisy with other people's opinions, and as we age, some of those voices get quieter. Children grow up, spouses pass, social circles shrink. But your voice? That one stays. And sometimes it's the one you most need to hear. So the next time you catch yourself talking to the fridge or debating aloud what movie to watch tonight, don't laugh it off. Embrace it. You've earned the right to talk back to life in whatever way helps you feel less alone and more alive. You walk into the living room and something feels different. Maybe it's the way the sunlight hits the corner where a chair used to be. Or maybe it's the way a table sits, slightly askew, like it hasn't been nudged in days. When you live alone, your home becomes more than just a space. It becomes a reflection of everything you feel, carry, avoid, and treasure. Some days, the bed stays unmade. Not because you're lazy, but because that little burst of energy didn't show up today. The dishes sit in the sink a little longer than they used to. The TV stays on even when no one's watching, just to keep the air moving. These aren't signs of failure. These are signs of life adjusting itself, quietly, without explanation. But then there are other days, the good ones, when you find yourself opening the windows wide, playing music while you clean, folding your blankets just right, lighting a candle just because. These are the days your house shines back at you with warmth, with resilience, with hope. It's easy for others to overlook how personal a home becomes when you're the only one in it. Every photo you leave on the wall is a chosen memory. Every book on the shelf holds more than stories. It holds time. Every small object, placed just so, is a gesture of control, of order, of saying, I still matter, I still care, I still create beauty, even if no one else sees it. And then there are the hidden corners, the closets with old coats, the drawers with letters you haven't opened in years, the boxes of holiday decorations that maybe don't come out anymore. These places aren't messy, they're sacred. They hold your history, your softness, your love. People think living alone means no one sees the house, so why keep it up? But they forget. You see it. You feel it. And when the house is calm, you are too. When the house is chaotic, it weighs on you. Because this space is your sanctuary. It's the one place you don't have to explain yourself. So yes, your house becomes a mirror. It reflects your energy, your grief, your joy, your healing. And every time you care for it, whether by dusting a shelf, arranging flowers, or simply sitting in your favorite chair with the sun on your face, you're not just taking care of a home, you're taking care of your soul. It's strange how a table can feel so different depending on how many chairs are filled around it. When you live alone, mealtime stops being about food and starts becoming something else entirely. It becomes a mirror of your routines, your feelings, even your sense of worth. There was a time when dinner meant conversation. It meant setting the table with care, serving someone you loved, passing dishes, laughter, the clinking of glasses. Meals were shared, by hands, by eyes, by hearts. But now it's just you, and somehow the fork feels heavier. You find yourself grazing instead of eating, toast for dinner, a banana and coffee for lunch, soup from a can because it's easier than cooking for one. Not because you don't know how to cook, not because you don't deserve a proper meal, but because something in you quietly wonders, what's the point? But let me tell you, there is a point. You are the point. Nourishing yourself is not an act of vanity or routine. It's an act of self-respect. When you take the time to prepare something, even something small, you're telling your body and spirit, you matter, I care about you. And yes, sometimes, you'll sit with the TV on because the silence feels too big. Other times you might set one place at the table and eat slowly, looking out the window or listening to music. Either way, you are still sharing a moment with yourself. Some of the deepest healing comes from reclaiming rituals that once belonged to someone else too. Cooking a favorite dish not because they're still here to enjoy it, but because they once did and you still can. Lighting a candle not for company but for peace. Plating your meal, not for presentation, but for presence. You're not just feeding your body when you eat alone, you're feeding the story of your resilience. Every bite is a quiet statement. I'm still here. I still care. I still deserve to feel full. So don't skip dinner tonight. Sit down. Savor it. You're not eating alone. You're dining with all the versions of yourself that brought you here. Before, you may have cared for others. Children, a spouse, maybe aging parents. You were the one keeping track of appointments, making sure the fridge was stocked, asking how everyone felt. You were the one people leaned on, and you probably still are in many ways. But now, as time moves forward, something shifts. You begin to realize there's no one in the next room to notice if you're tired. No one to remind you to take your pills. No one to say, that cough sounds worse. Today, you become your own caregiver, and that, my friend, is a job most people don't talk about enough. You learn to monitor your own energy levels. You get used to being both the one who checks in and the one who needs checking on. You refill your pill box, drive yourself to the doctor, sit through tests and results, and walk back to your car without a hand to hold. It's brave, it's exhausting, and it's beautiful in a way no one gives enough credit to. Caring for yourself isn't just about health. It's about dignity. It's about looking in the mirror and saying, I've still got me. It's about knowing your body better than anyone else ever could. and still choosing to treat it with kindness, even on the days it doesn't cooperate. But let's be honest, it's not always enough. There are days when you wish someone would notice the fatigue in your eyes, when you wish someone would ask, "How are you really doing?" without expecting a cheerful answer. Those are the days when the loneliness cuts deepest, not because you're physically alone, but because all the care you give, you carry alone too. And yet, you continue. You keep showing up for yourself day after day, quietly managing things most people take for granted. That's not weakness. That's strength, wearing a soft face. If there's one thing to remember, it's this. Asking for help doesn't mean surrendering your independence. It means honoring your humanness. And when you do reach out, whether to a neighbor, a nurse, or a friend, you're not failing. You're being wise. You're choosing connection over pride. You are still a caregiver. You always have been. And now you're learning to extend that same care inward. That's the hardest work of all, and you're doing it. Being alone is a physical state. It's the number of people in a room. It's whether someone else is in the kitchen, on the other end of the couch, down the hall brushing their teeth. Loneliness, though, that's different. Loneliness can show up even when you're surrounded by people. And ironically, it can sometimes feel loudest when you're completely by yourself. Most days, you might be fine. You might actually like your space, your quiet, your independence. You enjoy your routines, your garden, your morning news, your cup of tea just the way you like it. You've built a life that works for you. But then, there are those moments. A birthday goes by and no one calls until evening. A letter comes in the mail and it's just another bill. You sit in your chair after dinner, and for no clear reason, a deep ache rises up. It doesn't ask permission. It just settles in your chest and whispers, "Is this it now?" That's loneliness. Not the absence of others, but the absence of being seen, heard, missed. The absence of knowing someone is thinking of you at that very moment. And it's not your fault. It's not weakness. It's part of being human. Older adults living alone are some of the strongest people walking this earth. But even the strongest hearts need connection. And here's something no one says enough. You're allowed to admit that. You're allowed to feel lonely without apologizing for it. You're allowed to miss someone. You're allowed to wish someone would show up unexpectedly just to check on you, just to sit beside you for a little while. Loneliness sneaks in quietly. It doesn't need a reason. But connection? That's something you can still seek. A phone call, a community center, a walk where you smile at strangers, a letter you send to someone just because you remembered them. These moments don't erase loneliness, but they keep it from growing roots. And please don't believe the lie that it's too late to make new friends, to start new conversations, to be part of something. You are not finished. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You're still needed, still worthy of closeness, still capable of giving and receiving love. So when loneliness shows up again, and it will, meet it with kindness. Sit with it for a while, but don't let it unpack. You've got more life to live, more people to meet, and most importantly, more of yourself still to discover. You are still deeply needed, even if no one says it out loud. Let's be honest, living alone in later life isn't glamorous. It isn't tragic either. It's real. It's layered. It's hard and beautiful and complicated. It holds freedom in one hand and longing in the other, and through it all you keep going. Maybe no one tells you this enough, so I will now. I see you. I see the way you keep your home running. The way you remember anniversaries no one else mentions anymore. The way you sit through long, quiet evenings without complaint. The way you find beauty in small things. Sunlight, music, memory, your own breath. I see the way you endure loss without bitterness. The way you've become your own anchor. The way you still hope. Sometimes quietly, sometimes fiercely, that tomorrow brings something meaningful, and if no one else has said it lately, let me say this too. You are still needed, not just for what you used to do or who you used to be, but for who you are right now, for the wisdom you carry, for the patience you've practiced, for the stories that still live inside you, for the love you still have to give. This world moves fast, and it doesn't always stop to notice the people who hold it together quietly. But just because no one says thank you doesn't mean your life hasn't mattered deeply. It does. It has. It still does. So as you continue this journey, through the silence, through the memories, through the weight of independence and the gift of reflection, know this: you are not alone. You are living, even in the quiet. And that's something worth celebrating every single day.